Um, Hello, everyone. It's Emin speaking, Vice President, one of the Vice Presidents of the Saverne 2019. So today we're going to have our last training before the session starts. We'll talk about group dynamics. We're going to answer a couple of questions. First of all, we'll be start talking about what's team building and why do we need it. Then we'll move on to what is FIRO cycle, how it is related to team building and its basic structure. Then we are going to mention about conflict and their importance to EYP and to team building, why conflict is important. And then we'll finalize the training. So let's start with what's team building and why do we need it. Team building describes various types of activities that are utilized to improve group performance. So when they are practiced, these activities improve group performance over the time by setting goals, defining team roles of each team member, building effective working relationships, and finding solutions to team problems. So whatever your role is at an EYP session, it's always paramount to consider group dynamics and team building. However, it's mostly chairperson's responsibility to make sure that his or her committee, which is composed of members who are strangers to each other at the first day, becomes a fully functioning team by the end of the session. Even though each of you might be well aware of the fact that team building is inevitable part of group formation, it's not always the case that the chairperson has the understanding of through which stages a committee passes through and to which stages we direct them to become a group with EYP standards. Um, let's move on to talking about pyrocycle. So what is pyrocycle, how it is related to team building and its basic structure. In EYP, we use this framework that's called FIRO, which stands for Fundamental Interpersonal Relations Orientation. So FIRO simplifies the stages that believe most groups pass through while forming as a working team. This framework is very useful for a chairperson to make the team out of individuals refer back to in order to check which stage the team is at the present and in what ways to move on to next phases. Once the chairperson understands FIRO, he or she can easily manipulate the framework in order to drive best outcome of the committee. So let's start with stages. But before, I would like to mention that I will also upload the Fire Cycle uh, visual aids, so you can refer to it while listening to this training. I'll also upload the written document. So the first stage, which what we call is I. Remember your very first time in UYP session? Ask yourself some questions. How were you feeling that day? What were you thinking of? Maybe you were just like me. Oh my God, I was like, where I am? Who are these people? What I'm gonna do here? So the first stage is all about you. Here, you are the only one who can be trusted because you don't know people around you. You need to calm yourself down, be more confident, and step out of your comfort zone. So all you think about is I. The I stage lets you respect and preserve your individuality. However, as chairpersons, you can also manipulate this stage so your committee becomes ready to move on to next stage, which is called you. And the way to do this is to incorporate name games and some icebreakers maybe into beginning of your team building strategy. So you could ask why name games. Think about how would it make you feel if people addressed you by mentioning your name. So you would feel yourself less strange, among group of people who you just met. So this is I stage, and then we move on to the next one, which is called you. After now I will demonstrate you stage with a little example. So let's say you missed your transit flight and got stuck in a small airport, let's say somewhere in Azerbaijan. After paying all you've got for the new tickets, you're sitting in a coffee shop and questioning your life decisions. And suddenly you see a familiar face approaching you. Isn't it amazing? Like you just found somebody to chat, and out of a sudden, life doesn't feel so bad anymore. So with use stage, that is actually what we are trying to create here. We try to get delegates to start thinking about themselves, but rather try to get them connected with people around them. However, most of the time, delegates show fake politeness and act more reserved when showing their real emotions because they're still uncertain about whether to fully trust someone inside the group or not. In this stage, it's better to utilize icebreakers to get to know each other games, biography, or some trust games. So these games are designed to help delegates to focus their attention on other people within this group so they can start trusting others besides themselves. Furthermore, these kind of games are tools to break social boundaries and help further bond the delegates. After the use stage, the committee should move on to the next stage. So they should become more united. But however, there is a way for this. Since after by the end of the use stage, committee members here and there, they know each other, communicate with a couple of other people. It's now time to create a workable team where individual goals become group goals and the committee feels more united. In this stage, chairperson particularly has more responsibilities to guide the delegates into successfully attaining what is expected from them to be as united as Manchester. So, in order to break fake politeness, we introduce them into conflicts by assigning communication games and problem solvers. Okay, let's answer the question, what is conflict and why it's important? Think of conflicts like vaccinations. So in vaccination, it's taking a dead virus that has no harmful effects and inject in a body to get your body to understand how to deal with this virus. For the first time, the body fails to react to the virus. However, for the next time, it already has learned its lesson. So when injected again, body will know how to react. In EYP, conflicts serve the same idea. We introduce delegates to nearly unsolvable problems and make them build a consensus. Since the problems are very difficult, they fail to come into an agreement, which eventually leads them to fail. But that's not a problem. However, there is a nuance. By failing, they also develop strategies in order to overcome similar challenges for the next time they are faced with. Conflicts also serve to define team roles of the individuals which are part of the group. Role defining is this idea is that each person is a piece of a puzzle. In a team environment, members are expected to be complementary of each other, meaning that, for example, if one delegate is better at giving ideas, the other one needs to be better at structuring them. Conflicts allow each member to recognize their own roles and understand who is good at what in a committee. So each given conflict makes a pay for the committee to become better of itself. However, during the committee work, try to manage your team so you give enough conflicts and to make sure that now they have these strategies to follow if they are faced with any kind of problems. Well, after the conflicts, now team is ready to move on to the next stage, which we call we. In this stage, the committee has already developed communication, trust, strong unity with each other. They have defined team roles, created better strategies to work on problems, and consider themselves an ambitious team rather than individuals. Some delegates be like Liverpool. We will never walk alone. I'm sorry, I know I'm giving too much football reference, but I just think they are suitable here. So also do not forget to involve them in this stage into energizers, focus exercises, and small competitions to keep them hyped. Um, After the we stage, we move on to the final last stage, which obviously we call end. End phase is one of the most essential part of the FIRO circle, yet is mostly ignored in many sessions. It mainly serves two purposes. Because each session, the role of a delegate changes, at the end, it's important as a chairperson, you let them know that for this particular session, your delegate's role is over, and if ever they become part of a new team, they might start from the scratch. So they will have different roles in different sessions. As to the second purpose, towards the end, things might get messy. Delegates full of emotions after such an experience, they might feel overwhelmed. It is your responsibility to give a strong closure as well as a meaning to what they have experienced during the session and what life lessons they can take out of it for their future. You can get creative as a committee. You can write out postcards to each other or share sentimental stories, let's say in a circle lit with candles and so on. Well, it is the end of our live stream. Hope you have enjoyed it. You can make a lot use of FIRO Circle. Um, Refer to this training whenever needed. I will, as I have mentioned, I will also upload the written document so it will be easier for you to follow. Have a great day. I hope seeing you in the session in a couple of days. Bye bye.